welcome to Beware the Terrible. Today we're going to the Foolproof Phantasma featuring the new Glaceon from Astral Radiance with a Frost Wall attack, doing the special effect of preventing all damage done to this Pokemon by evolution Pokemon during your opponent's next turn. So we're building a control deck with this card using a Zoroark box, adding other stage 1 Pokemons into the mix to lock our opponent from drawing their prizes until they deck themselves out. We have Galarian Weezing for the ability lock, Galarian Mr. Rime to guard all of our Pokemons with energies attached from effects of attacks including damage counters and special conditions, Glaceon for the Frost Wall, and Fusion Strike Gorebyss to shut down Inteleon's quick shooting ability, which is a bit different from our Weezing just because it does not need to be in the active spot for you to cancel your opponent's Rapid Strike abilities. We're also playing one copy of Miltank with a Miracle Body ability, protecting it from damage done by attacks from your opponent's V Pokemon. Next, we have our Cyllene, Team Yellsture, and Pulpat to loop cards back into the deck, preventing ourselves from decking out whilst buying multiple turns, walling off until our opponent run out of cards from their deck. On to the draw support, we have 2 Bibarros, 1 Bruno, 1 Cynthia, 1 Marnie, 1 Zinnia, 1 Irida, and 1 Peonia. For the bench setup, we have 3 VIP Pass, 3 Quick Ball, 2 Level Ball, 1 History and Heavy Ball, and 1 Capture. For the evolution, we have 3 Incense and 2 Ultra Balls. For the switch, we have 1 Escape Rope, 1 Switch, and 1 Air Balloon. For our energies, we are playing 3 Aurora, 1 Capture, 2 Twin, 2 Basic Darkness, and 2 Water. Finally, we have 1 Raihan for the extra energy, 1 Training Card for our Raiding Greninja, and 1 Manaphy for the bench barrier. So that's all for the deck list, and be sure to grab yourself some packs from our sponsor at XTrainer90 team to build your very own deck from any cards in format. They even sell online codes for character rares, full art, and gold cards to expand your collection. So check out the link in the description below or click on the top right corner of this video to enhance your PTCG experience. Use code BTT for 5% off any products to get yourself some lovely cards. And now for the moment of truth, let's go for some gameplays! Okay, let's go for our first game versus Whimsicott V Star. Whimsicott does actually disrupt your hand a lot because you can't actually play tool cards, special energy on your next turn, and it is an effect on the player. That means Melodic doesn't work, so there really isn't a proper counter to release the trap from Whimsicott's effect, because there's nothing that removes effects on the player itself. There used to be a Pokemon Ranger, I think. Channeler and Pokemon Ranger kind of does the same thing. I'm not sure. There is a little bit of a difference between those two supporters. Channeler is from Sun and Moon, and then Pokemon Ranger is a bit older, and now there isn't anything that kind of does the same thing. So Whimsicott, if you play special energies, if you play Ditto, Magikarp, if you play nothing but Double Turbo and Twin Energy, you can't actually attack because they are forcing you to not be able to attach those special energies at all. That means you need to somehow stop them from attacking, because all they need to do is attack to do the attack non-stop. If they break the flow, if they so much as stop attacking for 1 turn, you get to attach your energy and you get to do the knockout. So all they need to do is attack, and it's quite easy to do that because they just need Double Turbo, Raihan, Experience Share, and they can actually play Fan of Wave, Crushing Hammer as well. So if you play nothing but special energy in your deck and a lot of tool cards as well, if you rely on those tool cards, then you can't actually win against Whimsicott. So we do have quite a lot of special energy in this deck, 3 Aurora, 1 Capture, and 2 Twin, but we are playing our 1 energy attacker though. So Miltank is 2 energies, but if they evolve all their Whimsicotts, we can actually prevent any damage done to our Glaceon, our transformed Glaceon, by attaching a basic water onto it without having to, deal with the effect, because Tricky Wind denies us from attaching that Aurora energy. We cannot attach Aurora, but we can still attach our basic energy, our water, and it's actually an ice type though. So we do have energy search 1 copy to search for that ice energy into our hand, to attach it onto our Zoroark after transforming. So important thing about Zoroark is that you have to transform before attaching your tool cards, before attaching your energies, before doing anything, because everything that you have attached to Zoroark is going to get discarded upon the transformation. Always important to know that, including the damage counters. So you are removing everything on your Zoroark as you transform that card into a different stage 1. So special conditions removed, damage counters removed, tool cards, special energy, everything discarded. Including the Zora, including the basic attached basic card, you have to discard the Zora as well. So that's actually a pretty cool effect because it helps out with Wormadam, obviously, because Wormadam actually does more damage for each Pokemon in the discard pile. I think people are very familiar with this card already, Zoroark. Nothing fancy about that card, and people have built previously a lot of decks out of Zoroark that are control decks, but this one is kind of different because we are playing our Astral Radiance combo. We have one copy of Glaceon, and initially I actually tried playing one copy of Bronzong from Astral Radiance as well with a heat-proof ability, helping you deny our opponent from damaging your Bronzong at all if they play fire decks. So fire type Pokemon cannot do any damage to Bronzong. V cards can't do any damage to your Miltank. Evolution Pokemons can't do any damage to your Glaceon. And if they rely on abilities, we got our Weezing. So instead of our Gorebyss, we actually decided to have one copy of Bronzong when we first built this deck. And eventually we decided that, you know what? Bronzong isn't really doing much. If they don't play fire types, it really isn't doing anything at all. And we might as well just play that Gorebyss to help us lock our opponent's Inteleon, because if they play Quick Shoot, we can actually deck them out. So this is basically a very interesting strategy. We are not doing a lot of damage with Glaceon. We're doing only a max of 110 damage with Miltank if they have a full bench, and they can actually control how much damage we are doing with our route attack. Miltank is not doing a knockout that easily. Miltank is not doing enough damage for a knockout that fast. And they can actually deal with the Miltank with Canceling Cologne, Escape Rope Boss. They can do a lot of things against a Miltank. They can actually attack with their one price cards as well if they play Moltres, Galarian Moltres, or even, cards like Absol. There are a lot of cards to counter that. Galarian Zapdos, Cresselia, so many cards. Inteleon, even the Shady Inteleon can still do attacks, can do 120 damage for one water and one colorless. So anything that is a one price can kill a Miltank with one hit, because there's only 110 HP and we don't have Cape in this deck. So it's pretty easy to deal with the Miltank, especially if you're only playing one copy. But we do have that Team Yell's Cheer though. One copy of Team Yell's Cheer and one Palpat Cyllene, 2 copies to help us recycle that Miltank. Forcing our opponent to deal with another copy over and over again. We can actually recycle that card, and we got a lot of search cards in this deck as well. We got a lot of Quick Balls, Ultra Ball to get them out. We got even our Capture, 1 copy, and Level Balls. Level Ball doesn't actually work for Miltank, but if we don't get Miltank later on in the game, it's okay. We can shuffle it and, draw it out later with our Bibarel. But whilst waiting for our second Miltank, we can actually do our our Frost Wall, or even Neutralizing Gas to lock them further. And we actually have an extra copy of Galarian Mr. Rime right now. For the new list, this one, I don't think we have a Rime. I think we have a Bronzong, Weezing, Glaceon, and an extra supporter card. I don't think we have any other Stage 1 Pokemons for this list, because it is one of the newest, one of the original version, the earliest build of the Glaceon Zoroark combo. Okay, we got 120 damage in the game, and we have 6 prizes remaining because we are not intending to draw prize for the win. We are trying to deck them out because we have our Cyllene, Team Yell's and Palpat combo to basically loop our deck, to infinity. We are basically having an infinite deck, as opposed to our opponent having, a finite amount of turns. So all we need to do is buy enough turns until the end of the game, until they have 0 cards in their deck. Then we actually win by decking them out. So it's actually pretty difficult to do that, but it is possible. It's definitely possible, because if your opponent run out of basic Pokemons to kill your Glaceon, all you need to do is Team Yell's Cheer to transform into Yell's Cheer your Zoroark, and then transform to Glaceon, attach that 1 water energy. You can even do Cyllene to recover your energy, Cyllene to recover your training card. You can recover anything basically for this deck, just because we have our Cyllene training card, Palpat, Team Yell's Cheer, all of those cards. Raihan even to get that 1 energy. And we also get to, block them from using their abilities with our Weezing. We got a lot of locking strategies, buying ourselves infinite amount of turns over and over and over until we exhaust all of their resources. So no more boss, no more escape rope. What are they gonna do? They cannot collect the final few prize cards. They can deal with the Miltank by avoiding knocking out that Pokemon. So they can do like a couple boss, a couple escape ropes for the first few prize. But after that, what are they gonna do? How are they gonna collect the final 2 prize? How are they gonna collect the final 1 prize if they don't kill our active? So for example, if they play 2 boss, 1 escape rope in their deck, or even if they have 3 boss and 2 escape ropes, they may not have a 1 prize card in their deck to kill the Miltank. They may not have any basic attackers in their deck that can do enough damage fast enough. Well, obviously if you evolve though, if you play evolution attackers, obviously the basic gets to do damage as well. And Glaceon is not probably going to do enough for that deck. So Miltank is probably going to help us more. We should be using Miltank first if they play V cards, and then Glaceon later, unless if they are playing something like a Lucario deck, because Lucario actually does a lot more damage than the basic. Riolu only does 50 damage for 2 energies, but Riolu can actually kill Glaceon by doing damage bit by bit, and we cannot afford for them to do that. We cannot afford for them to damage our Pokemon at all, because we want to be buying infinite amount of turns. We want to be decking our opponent out turn by turn by turn. And that means they cannot be killing, they cannot be drawing any single prize. We have to be very conservative. If they draw a prize, we have to watch out for the next one, right? We have to make sure they draw as few prizes as they can, so that eventually they can't draw the last prize, right? We have to watch that prize very, very carefully, like a hawk. So here comes the experience share. They can actually attack with Bibarel. That's what they're trying to do right now. And Crobat can poison your Crobat. Slowking VMAX as well can actually deal with the Miltank, because special conditions and damage counters still work against Miltank. So if they play Escape Rope and then Typhlosion V-Star to do Flame, Hollow Flame, they can actually damage your Miltank on the bench. Or even Cursula. We actually got matched up against Cursula for the next couple games. Down the next couple games, you'll see a Cursula matchup, and you'll see we actually won with our Galarian Mr. Rime. So that's the power of that attack, that ability, because Screen Cleaner actually helps you defend all of your Pokemons from effects of attacks. If they have any energies attached to them, it's kind of the same as Solar Revelation. Espeon VMAX's ability. I forgot the ability, but the ability, the old Espeon actually has the same ability as the new Espeon VMAX in Standard, which is kind of the same, which basically is the same thing as Galarian Mr. Rime, which is a 1 prize, stage 1 Pokemon. That's why I decided to add, instead of Bronzong, I added a Gorebyss and a Mr. Rime. I think we had an extra supporter card, as I said just now, for this list, instead of the additional stage 1 Pokemon. So Screen Cleaner actually helps you guard against special conditions. If all you need to do is attach an energy onto your Miltank, and then they cannot affect it with special conditions, they cannot affect it with damage counters, they cannot do anything. Raticate, Alolan Raticate cannot actually kill your Miltank or even Glaceon. If they, try to poison you for the knockout, they still cannot do it as well, because we have our Mr. Rime. Okay, we got our Raihan. We can actually choose to attack with Greninja for this deck as well, because we have 2 Water, 3 Aurora, and Water Shuriken, Moonlight Shuriken, my bad, actually does work with Raihan. So all we need to do is attach 1 energy to prepare for the next turn, and then Raihan at just the right time. We have that 1 Palpad Cyllene to recover our Raihan, Peonia to get it from the prize, so it's actually a very cohesive deck in a way. All we need to do is get them out at the right time, and we got a lot of turns to buy until we get them into our hand. All we need to do is stall, play cards at the right time, and stall even more. So that's the main strategy that we want to be playing with this deck, and what we want to be showing off is our wall effect. Astral Radiance Glaceon, a pretty cool effect, preventing all damage done by evolution Pokemons. The only other card that I can think of with the same, with the same special effect is Conkeldurr from Battle Styles, I think. I'm not too sure what expansion it's from, what set it's from, but it's a Conkeldurr. It's a stage 2, and it requires like 1 fighting and 2 colorless, and it does the same effect for 60 damage, I think. I'm not too sure how much damage it's doing. Probably 90, because 60 is a bit too low for a stage 2. Maybe it's 90, I'm not too sure honestly, but it prevents all damage done by evolution Pokemons. So if the effect says the defending Pokemon can't attack if it is an evolution Pokemon, it would be much worse, because that way they actually have more control. All they need to do is switch or Bird Keeper Escape Rope, then they get to recover, they get to basically erase your effect. Whereas if the effect says this Pokemon prevents all damage done to it by evolution Pokemon, if the effect works on your own Pokemon, if you're guarding your own Pokemon, if it's a safeguard effect, then you actually get to you have a little bit more control in that sense, just because they actually need either a boss or escape rope to deal with that Glaceon. It's a bit more specific and it's a bit more disruptive in a way, because a bit more safe, because you are having a lot more control using that effect. So we got Peonia. Now we're gonna get our Pulpad. We're just gonna put back the Weezing. I don't think we need the Weezing, honestly. We're gonna put back the Bibarel, obviously. So if you get VIP pass from the prize, just put it back, because we don't need it anymore. Unless if it's your first turn going second. We're gonna put our Energy Search and Weezing. Yeah, we don't need the Weezing. So we got 13 cards left in the deck. They got 11. And we got our Pulpad. I don't think we can deck out that easily. So we actually managed to stall until both players have 4 prizes now. And somehow we actually drew 2 prizes. I have no idea how. I think with Miltank probably. Nothing but Miltank. You can actually win the game, you know, against a meta deck. You can actually win with nothing but a Miltank. Isn't that ridiculous? There are counters to it though. You can play, you know, if you play only 1 copy of Miltank with your V-Star or VMAX cards, with your V-Star deck, then they can actually do boss escape rope to collect extra prizes. And if they play enough bosses, they can actually draw all 6 prizes without having to deal with Miltank at all throughout the entire game. So it's important to watch out for that if you're playing V-Stars. And for decks that play nothing but Miltank, I think you need a loop strategy, because you're not doing a lot of damage. You're doing very low damage, and you need Cyllene, Yell's-Cheer, and Pulpad. That's like the best combo ever. I actually stole the idea from, not the whole idea of this build, I stole the loop strategy from Sender Wojcik. I think he was the one who created it. He built a Mewtwo V Union deck, a Mewtwo V Union control deck with Cyllene, Pulpad, Team Yell's-Cheer, and probably a few other cards that I can't really think of right now. Really good combo. Sydney, I think. Sydney and Oleana, control cards, right? Control cards and loop strategies. Sharon only works for Snorlax though. I think I saw someone playing Sharon with Snorlax, and in addition to that loop combo, that was actually pretty smart. So Cyllene for a control deck is super cool, because I've never seen that before, and there are so many control cards that nobody uses. Team Yell's-Cheer is actually a control card now. And we got Sydney. Oleana not really that powerful, but Sydney is doing a lot, because if you discard, if your opponent has stadium cards in your hand, discarding it is a big plus. Discarding a Temple of Sinnoh, can you imagine discarding Path to the Peak, discarding Training Court, anything that they have, if it's a stadium, if it's a special energy, discarding it is a big plus. Especially if they have a lot of cards in their hand, make sure you play a Sydney, you know, at just the right time. you can actually force your opponent to draw, get stuck in the active, and then keep on drawing their deck to search for that switch card, to search for something, to release the trap, to recharge their Pokemon with energies. Because if you play a lot of Crushing Hammer, Fan of Waves, you can actually empty them out from energies, and then they need to draw a lot of cards just to counter that. And once they have a lot of cards in their hand, you can actually play a Cyllene to basically discard their stadiums. Galar is gonna get rotated though. I would be pretty sad about that, but we have nothing but Muck to increase our opponent's retreat cost. Muck is the only thing right now that I can think of in standard Brilliant Stars Muck. It requires your opponent active Pokemon to be poisoned, and it only works on your opponent's active. Well, obviously it only works on the active, but only works on your opponent's Pokemon if they are poisoned, and it only adds 1 colorless to their retreat cost for each Muck you have in play. So only 1 for a stage 1 is not really that good. We used to have an Absol for Sun and Moon. Absol actually adds retreat cost of your opponent's basic Pokemon in play by 1 colorless. It's only basic Pokemon though, but it is a basic Pokemon itself, and it adds 1 colorless. So all you need to do is like level ball to bench it. I think it's a level ball card probably. And then you got like 3 extra retreat costs to do like Leafeon VMAX, Grass Knot. I don't think people got to play Leafeon VMAX with Absol, because Leafeon VMAX was a bit too late. Rotation was already active by then. I think rotation was active by Chilling Rain. So Evolving Skies was after Chilling Rain, I think. And I don't think Leafeon VMAX got to play with Absol. Obviously, people played it with Galar, but it would be pretty sick to see people playing it with Absol. I've played it with my Muck. So if you guys want to check it out, I actually posted a video on Leafeon VMAX with Muck doing Grass Knot for extra damage with Poison. So you actually have to have another extra ability just to poison your opponent's active Pokemon to initiate the extra retreat cost. Because Muck's ability doesn't work if your opponent's active Pokemon is not poisoned. And the only thing that works for standard right now is Garbodor. Garbodor's Poisonous Puddle from Rebel Clash, and that's the only thing that helps you poison your opponent's active if you have a Stadium card in play. Right? It doesn't need to be yours, it just needs to be a Stadium. Right? If your opponent doesn't play Stadium, or if they know that you're playing a Garbodor, they may just choose not to play a Stadium card. That means you need at least 1 or 2 copies, probably 3 or 4, I would say, just to add the security, just for that extra security, because if you don't poison your opponent's active Pokemon, you cannot do enough damage. Grass Knot is not doing a knockout. Okay, they got actually Fluffball Star to target any of our bench Pokemon, but we got our Menafee, so Fluffball Star is not doing anything, and they already used their V-Star. They actually used it already, so that was a big surprise. They got 2 cards left in attack, we got 9, and well, all we need to do is just Frostball till the very end. They got only Psychic and Double Turbo, so they can't actually do anything else. We're just gonna Palpat again and Frostwall. They're evolving the Bibarel. And right now they can actually end the game by just drawing the final card from the deck. But they chose to just delay, because you never know what you're gonna get at the end of the game. Maybe a Rod, or like a Lysander's trump card. You never know. That card's banned though. I think it's banned from Expanded as well. Is it pretty broken? Is it that broken? I don't know. I don't play Expanded anymore. I used to love Expanded though. Reuniclus was my favorite card. Reuniclus from Dragon's Exalted, I think. That was the best card ever, because you get to transfer damage counters from your opponent, from your Pokemon, from any one of your Pokemon to another of your Pokemon in any way you like. It is a stage 2 though, but you get to transfer however as often as you like as well. That's so cool. From any of your Pokemon, it's not just Psychic Pokemons. We have Life Shaker Gengar now, which only works for Psychic type Pokemons. It sucks. Because it doesn't allow you to transfer from your V-Star colorless type. It only allows you to transfer from your Psychic Pokemons. And that is not okay. It's such a big restriction. And there's no extra, you know, it's an extra limitation, but there's no extra release. You know, normally there is a balance to things, right? If they have an extra limitation, they have and something else to balance it off, and a hidden advantage, you know. But this one doesn't really have it. I don't see anything from Gengar, Life Shaker that has a hidden advantage. I really don't see anything in it. Reuniclus is so much better. So for example, what abilities are there that actually has a balance? The one that I just talked about, Absol and Muck. Absol actually has a you know, the same ability as Muck, but only works for basic Pokemon. Whereas Muck works for any Pokemon, but only works if your opponent's active Pokemon is poison. So it's kind of I would say Muck is worse, because it's a stage 1 Pokemon and it still have a condition, right? You need your opponent's active Pokemon to be poisoned, and that alone is an extra condition. Whereas your for your Absol, it only works for basic Pokemon, and that is a restriction. So whatever it is, whether a condition or restriction, is kind of the same thing, because Muck, you need it. It's a stage 1. I don't know what to say. You have to evolve so many copies just to add that extra few retreat costs. It's just terrible. Sometimes all you need is 1 or 2 extra, you know, colorless though. If you can add 1 extra colorless to their retreat cost, they, you know, you can trap them a lot much better, you know, in a sense, because if you have them trapped in the active spot, if they can't do anything, if they don't get their switch card, they cannot actually deal with the Muck, because it's not a stadium. They have no way of dealing with that ability. If you can somehow poison their active and, you know, evolve enough copies on your bench, then they can't actually do anything to counter that ability, unless if they get their switch cards. Whereas with Galarmine, all they need to do is play their stadium, right? All they need to do is play Pumpkaboo Stadium, and Galarmine is completely destroyed, is completely removed, dealt with, but Muck has no such counters. Okay, here comes an Arceus Darkness box. They got Arceus V-Star, Moltres V, and Mightyena against Mew VMAX. I don't really see any other Psychic Pokemons. Mewtwo V-Star and Shadow Rider for standard. So we're gonna just put back the Miltank onto the top deck. Great thing about Cyllene is that it actually works with your Bibarel, Genesect. That's why people played with Mew VMAX so much, because Genesect actually gets to draw from the top deck. So we actually benched it again, and now they need to hit us with Absol, but Absol is not doing a knockout unless if they do a Zigzagoon, because Claw Slash, I think the second attack, I think that's what it's called, Claw Slash, Claw Rend, my bad. Claw Rend actually does 120 damage if your opponent has any damage counters on it. If they don't, you're only doing a base 50 damage. Starbirth. So make sure you attack with Frostball every single turn, even though you are doing only 30 damage. I know it's very low damage, but you cannot afford to use the second attack. Only use the second attack if you can afford to lose a prize card. If you have to expect to lose an extra prize card on your next turn if you want to use that attack to do a knockout. So make sure you are prepared for that, because you have no guard, you have no safeguard on your next turn. Your opponent gets to attack you, your opponent gets to knock out your Glaceon with their evolution Pokemons. So you cannot afford to essentially attack with the second, the second move. You have to keep on using Frost Wall after Frost Wall just to guard your Glaceon from being hit by an evolution. So if they play a V-Star card, if they play a V-Star deck, a full V-Star deck, and it evolve too fast, all you need to do is transform into Glaceon at the last minute. Don't discard your Glaceon. Don't do it that early, because they're just gonna play their V card. They're just gonna not evolve until the last second. They're just gonna, bench their V late and then charge it up to kill the Glaceon. So if you can somehow discard Glaceon at the last minute, make sure you do that. And then once they have all their V-Star VMAXs evolved, you can actually use your Frostwall transform at the very last second, because we have no EVs in this deck, no EV, and only one copy of Glaceon. That means it's quite easy to kind of hide our strategy, to kind of make sure we use Phantom Transformation at the very last second, and then using it at the right time when our opponent has already evolved all of their Pokemons. That means they wouldn't have any more basic Pokemons to bench. They wouldn't be able to deal with Frost Wall. Unless if they have, if they have a Darkness Energy or like Melanie for Lumineon to attack, if they can attack with Crobat as well, they can actually deal with that one copy of Glaceon, but they're gonna have to deal with the next one though. How are they gonna deal with the next one? So first things first, Miltank, and then after that, Glaceon. Those are the only two things that we have for this deck. We actually have a Weezing as well, my bad. So if you don't want to use your Miltank, if you think that Weezing is gonna work better against certain matchups, if you, for example, are up against a Shady Dealings deck, make sure you play your Weezing first instead of your Miltank. We actually do have one copy of Coughing in this deck. So Coughing have the Ascension attack. All you need to do is energy search for a Darkness Energy, or even attach an Aurora. Ascension for the ability lock. Neutralizing Gas to basically shut them down from using Shady Dealings. They cannot play Starbird, they cannot play anything unless if they do a boss escape rope. You're gonna have to waste those cards just to get past that ability, just to help them survive that extra turn, to search for cards for one turn, and then on the next turn, all we need to do is switch again back to the Weezing. That means we're basically wasting their bosses just for them to get their system running, and then they may not even do a knockout on that turn. They may just, need to prepare for the knockout just to prepare their Pokemon to attack on the next turn, and that actually is helping us in a sense, just because they have no extra bosses to deal with the Miltank later on. They have no extra escape rope or boss to deal with our Glaceon. No way of getting past that safeguard effect, my bad. They're actually playing a Rose Tower with Arceus V-Star, pretty cool. So Rose Tower with Quick Ball, items, and Ultra Ball, stuff to discard cards from your hand. Aurora Energy would be pretty cool. Aurora Energy helps you discard as well. And now they have no basic in play, so we get to Frostwall all the way until the very end. We have to watch out though, they're probably going to bench something at some point. I'm anticipating a Moltres, either the one prize Moltres or the V. And all they need to do is bench a V, Direflame Wings, and then kill our Frostmoth with that. But if they do the V, we got our Miltank. I think the one that we have to watch out for this deck, Clara, here comes Clara. I think they're playing the one prize Moltres. So that one prize Moltres is basically our biggest weakness, because it does a lot of damage, and there's no way we can counter that, right? Unless if we have a Weezing in the active before they bench that Pokemon, before they have a Moltres on the bench. If they already attack with the Moltres, we cannot save ourselves anymore. We have no choice but to attack with Glaceon, 120 damage for the knockout. If we can't kill the Moltres with one hit, I don't think there's anything but Glaceon that can do it, and it actually needs 2 water and 1 colorless, so it's actually quite difficult to knock out, you know, basic 1 prizers that can actually kill our Pokemon and get past our abilities. So if they play 1 prize decks, I don't think we have a high chance of winning, unless if they play 1 prize evolutions, then probably we would stand quite a high chance. Or like 1 prize with abilities like Ditto. If they play Ditto, we can actually play Weezing to shut them, to block them from using Sudden Transformation to copy Magikarp's ability, Magikarp's attack, my bad, or even Shedinja's attack. And we even got Screen Cleaner against Shedinja. So Screen Cleaner helps you deny your opponent from placing damage counter on your opponent on your active Pokemon with effects of attacks if you have energies attached to your active Pokemon. So any effects of attack does not work on any of your Pokemons that have energies attached, because Mr. Rime has the same ability as I already said with Aspeon VMAX. So we're going to play our Peonia right now. We're going to search for something that we need. I don't think we need anything right now, but it's always good to play Peonia whenever you can, because you never know what you're going to get from the prize. We actually got a Pulpad, which is great. So if you have, for example, too many Cyllene, Yellsture, Pulpad, if you have those key cards stuck in the prize, then you can't actually loop your deck. So that's why Peonia is so important. And you actually have to play it if you get it in your hand. If you have no other supporter cards, if you don't need to do anything else during your turn, make sure you play that Peonia, because you have to get something out from the prize. If you don't need them though, just put it back there. Just put those VIP passes back into the prize. Like you don't need to worry about it. Just put them back exactly where they are. There's no point getting them into your hand. There's no point doing anything. Okay, we're gonna play Escape Rope right now, and then Frostwall again. If they put the Arceus, we can actually do the knockout. But if we do the knockout though, they probably are gonna do a Raihan. So they don't have a Raihan in their hand, probably. That's why they put the Miltank instead. We can actually kill the Miltank right now, but Arceus is gonna come in and kill our Glaceon on the next turn. But we got our Aurora Energy for the next transformation, so we're just gonna do Ice Blast probably. Oh, we actually decided to attack. We decided to attack with our Miltank, which was actually a big mistake, as you'll see later on, because they got a boss. But anyways, it's kind of the same thing. We shouldn't be attaching the Aurora. Like, we should be keeping it in our hand. That was the wrong move right there. So if you attach... Oh, they didn't play it yet. They're probably going to play it eventually, though. I think they actually played it on the next turn. I was quite sure... I'm quite sure that they actually played it for this game to kill the Glaceon. We're going to put 2 Cylenes. Oh, we actually have a Yellsture there as well. Let's just put those 2. We're going to route again, and we need 1 more strike to kill the Miltank. 17 cards left for our opponent. We have 11 cards left in our deck, but we do have Yellsture and Cyllene now shuffled back. We actually have an Irida just to search for Glaceon and a Quick Ball to discard, or Glaceon Ultra Ball to discard and evolve our Zoroark. So Zoroark gets to transform after Irida. All we need is 1 Irida, and our bench Zoroark gets to transform. We're going to play the Training Court, and then we're going to get 1 energy from the discard pile. We're going to retreat first, apparently. Okay, we chose to discard the Darkness and retrieve the Darkness. I have no idea why. I think we have a Raihan. That's probably the reason. They may just play a Marnie and a Stadium on the next turn, though. So if they do that, we cannot retrieve the water from the discard pile. We cannot play our Raihan to attack with Glaceon after transforming. That means we are stuck on the next turn, because my Tiana gets to attack already, and they got so many energies attached to Arceus, they can actually afford to retreat and then probably do a Dark Patch energy switch on the next turn. Energy switch, they got a lot of energies though. As you'll see later, they actually attached even more basic energies onto the Umbreon, which is a bit ridiculous because I don't think Arceus gets to play that many basics. Arceus should be having like more double turbos and, you know, choice belt, like enough supports to make it turbo. I suppose that's why you don't see them getting their Arceus early in the game. They actually got Absol to start and benched the Arceus quite late. And I don't see a second copy as well. I don't see a second Arceus in play. We have Umbreon right now in the game. They can actually do Dark Signal for an extra kill. So Umbreon, Boss, Escape Rope. If you actually play enough copies of those, you can deal with your opponent's one-price Miltank deck. If they play one-price deck with 1 or 2 copies of Miltank, then you can actually, you know, not have to deal with any of the Miltanks if they keep on benching new Pokemons. Whereas if you fight against a one-price deck that plays nothing but Miltank, then you actually have no choice but to deal with those Pokemons. So that's why it's always healthy to add one-price cards into your V-Star deck. That's why you see them playing Absol and Mightyena. So Absol actually can do a knockout against one prizes. Miltank only has 110 HP. If they don't play Cape, if they don't get it at the right time, you can actually do Absol for the knockout. Clawren, Zigzagoon for 120 plus 10 damage, plus 1 damage counter from Headbutt Tantrum. So they got 80 HP remaining, and we're only doing 50 damage. If they bench another Pokemon, we're only doing 70, so they actually got the luxury to bench another one. And that actually still buys them one more turn before we are able to kill the V-Star. And here comes the Dark Signal, and they actually drew out the Glaceon, and now they're gonna kill it with our Mightyena, with their Mightyena, my bad. Wall Tackle actually does 50 damage to the Mightyena, so that's actually quite bad. They are damaging themselves, which obviously isn't a good thing. So we're going to transform right now and then do Frostfall all the way because they actually evolved the Umbreon. Wrong move, because they evolved the Umbreon. Now they got no basic Pokemons in play. We got 2 more Zoroarks. We're just going to transform one at a time. You never know what you're going to need though. It's always safer to keep your Zoroarks unevolved. Sorry, untransformed, my bad. It's always better to keep your Zoroarks, you know, in play until the very last minute, until when you need to transform. Because if you have it, you get to choose what to do later on in the game. You get to transform at just the right time into whatever Pokemon you like. In the discard pile, obviously. Whatever stage 1 Pokemons, my bad. So we're going to get Darkness for the active, just to retreat, and we even got Training Card, so that's why we actually chose to attach the Darkness. We're gonna search for Team Yell's Cheer because Raihan actually forces you to draw an extra card. It forces you to search for the card, any one card from the deck, and put it into your hand, even if you don't need it. You cannot choose to not search for anything. It's not possible with a Raihan. Raihan forces you to put it into your hand. Any one card from the deck. So make sure you're aware of that if you play a control deck, because if you have one card left in your deck and no other, you know, no rods in your hand, then you cannot play a Raihan. If you play a Raihan, you're gonna deck yourself out, and all your opponent needs to do on the next turn is to end it, right? They just need to end their turn, and then they actually win the game because you have 0 cards left. After the Raihan, no rods, you're dead. We have PGRV though. PGRV for the next set. For Incandescent Arcana, my bad. The next set. So there's gonna be a Silver Tempest for the English international set after Lost Origin, and that one actually has a PGRV. I don't think so. My bad. I think PGR is actually Lost Origin. Sorry about that. Pidgeot is actually Lost Origin. So Lost Origin is going to have a Pidgeot V, which actually does the same thing as Suicune GX. So Suicune GX has the ability that allows you to shuffle it and all attached cards back into the deck if it has any damage counters on it, and if it is on your bench. I think it's exactly the same ability, but I'm not too sure about the details, but it's kind of the same thing. Pidgeot allows you to shuffle it back into the deck if it has any damage counters on it. I'm not sure if it has to be on the bench, but you know, it works kind of the same thing. It's a colorless though. We have Sharon, Dunsparce for colorless, and now we actually have a Pidgeot as well, which is pretty cool. So Pidgeot would be quite interesting to see play, because you can actually bench it, attach energy, and then shuffle it back later on. And then, you know, you can loop the deck with nothing but Pidgeot. You don't need Cyllene, Team Yell's Cheer, Rod, Pulpad anymore. All you need to do is play Pidgeot, right? You can actually do like double turbo on your Pidgeot. If they don't play Flannery, if they do those cards though, if they play Tool Scrapper, Flannery, you can't actually shuffle anything else but that single copy of Pidgeot. If you attach basic energy, you may be lucky enough to keep those inside the deck on the next turn. So you can keep on looping the deck, you know, refilling your deck with that one copy of Pidgeot by benching it over and over and over after drawing it into your hand. Because it's not the same as Pyukumuku. Pyukumuku forces you to draw a card. So Pyukumuku is not the same thing as your Whirlpool Suction. It's not the same thing as your Suicune GX, because it forces you to draw a card after you put it at the bottom of your deck. So it's almost the same as a Tracking Shoes. It's kind of the same as Tracking Shoes, I would say, or an Unknown. You know, the old Unknown with the ability that allows you to discard it from play. If it's on your bench, you get to discard it and you get to draw a card, you know, once during your turn. And there actually is no limit to how many times you get to play the ability per turn. So that's actually pretty broken for Expanded. You get to keep on play Rescue Carrier, Rescue Stretcher. You get to keep on retrieving it from the discard pile, re-bench it, and draw even more cards from the deck. That's actually pretty crazy. And we got Tracking Shoes now in addition to that. So that would be quite insane for Expanded. And now we have 4 cards left in the deck. They have 8. Umbreon is still going. And here comes Moltres. They are not doing anything to our Miltank. Miltank is not dying anytime soon because they ran out of their 1 prizers. No more Mightyena, no more Absol, no more Miltank strategy. They cannot deal with Miltank anymore. They need Canceling Cologne. So Cologne for any deck is really, really important, because we got Ambipom now. Ambipom, what else? Skyscraper, you know, all of those abilities you get to get through. You get to cut through all of those abilities with nothing but Canceling Cologne. It only works for 1 turn though. So there's always Weezing as well, right? Canceling Cologne against Galarian Weezing. I actually get to play that with my Greedent deck. So if you guys want to check it out, I actually played Greedent VMAX with Radiant Blastoise. We did shady dealings for that deck. Unfortunately, I had to play that card just because Inteleon gives us extra snipes onto the bench, and if we do more snipes, the more damage counters we place on our opponent's Pokemon, the more we get to play our Turn a Profit, right? And that deck actually saw play Toy Catcher and Canceling Cologne. So we get to use those cards in addition to our Radiant Blastoise, because Radiant Blastoise get to target Manaphy. If we use Pump Shot to place 2 damage counter on Manaphy with our Radiant Blastoise, then we actually get to do Toy Catcher on the same turn if we draw it out onto our hand, or if we get a level ball, or an Incense for an Inteleon, to Shady for a Toy Catcher and a Canceling Cologne. We can actually target the bench, we can hit the bench, we can snipe the bench with our attacks. We can attack the bench, you know, after playing a Cologne on the Manaphy. But obviously we're not doing that though. For Greedent, we don't actually have a snipe strategy, but we want to be doing like a Toy Catcher for the knockout with Turn a Profit, drawing 2 extra prizes against a 1 prize basic support. So we're trying to draw 3 prize for an easy 1 prize knockout. If they play Sobble Inteleon, or even Merit Fluffy, you know, or even Manaphy in their deck, Dunsparce as well, if they bench those cards mindlessly, or if they want to bench them just to draw extra cards with their Crobat, Or if they have even Crobat Luminion on the bench, we can actually target those cards by doing Pump Shot, Quick Shoot enough times, and then Boss at the last minute, or even Toy Catcher at the last minute to kill that basic with Turn of Profit. And I think we actually got matched up against a Weezing deck. So we played Canceling Cologne, trying to, trying to get past the Menifee. I think we have a Raiding Greninja, that's why. So we have a Raiding Greninja in addition to our Melanie for Greed and VMAX. So Raiding Greninja gets to do Moonlight Shuriken to hit our opponent's bench. If we play our Canceling Cologne and Toy Catcher combo, we get to hit the bench with our Moonlight Shuriken for 90 extra damage on 2 of our opponent's Pokemon. But we have to discard 2 energy from our Greninja, obviously. And that actually helps us collect extra prizes with Greninja, in addition to the extra prize that we got from Turn of Profit on the last turn. So that's the main strategy. We want to be getting as much from the deck as possible. And fighting against Weezing was so delicious because we actually get to use Canceling Cologne for a different... to target a different enemy, to use it a different way, to basically help us draw cards into our hand with our Shady, to help us use our ability to search for more cards. Because if we don't use Shady, if we can't play Shady dealings, we can't do anything. Okay, they got 3 cards left in the deck. We also got 3 cards left. But here comes Pawpat. So as you saw earlier, they actually have a lot more cards in their deck than we did. And now, eventually we actually have more cards now. Just because we are looping those cards bit by bit, turn after turn, using Pawpat, Cyllene, T-Mail's Cheer. Not a really original combo because we actually stole it from someone else, but it actually works really well with our original idea, which was the Zoroark Glaceon combo with our Greninja for the draw support, and also Bronzong from Astral Radiance. Initially we had that, but we actually swapped it for Galarian Mr. Rime, Weezing, and Gorebyss. So if they play Rapid Strike Inteleon, they can actually kill your Pokemon bit by bit. They can do Quick Shoot to kill all of your Pokemon, because we are playing very low HP Pokemons here. One prize decks have very low HP, so all they need to do is Quick Shoot enough times, have 2 Rapid Strike Inteleon on the bench to place 4 damage counter every single turn on your bench Pokemon, 1 at a time, over and over, and they actually just need like 10 turns to kill for 2 or 3 prizes, and then another 10 more turns actually earns them another 2 prize, and then maybe boss for the final prize or escape rope. So they don't really need to deal with your abilities or effects. They don't actually need to get past those things that much, because they got that snipe effect. They got that extra damage counters turn after turn. And we cannot recover from those damage counters. We got no what's it called? We got no Scoop Up Net, no heal cards in this deck, and Screen Cleaner doesn't actually work against abilities. Galarian Mr. Rime's ability only works against effects of attacks, and Rapid Strike Inteleon is using an ability to damage counter our Pokemons. So we need Gorebyss, because they would eventually be able to kill our Pokemons if we don't deal with the Inteleon. And there's no other way, unless if we want to choose to boss and kill the Rapid Strike Inteleon with 1 hit. And there's no way we can kill the Inteleon that easily, because we are not doing a lot of damage with this deck. Miltank is not doing enough damage. Glaceon is obviously not doing enough damage. And Weezing, well, we can actually play Weezing to lock their abilities though. But we may need to deal with their VMAX. If they play VMAX V-Star in addition to the Inteleon, or even Evolution Stage 1 in addition to the Inteleon, Obstagoon Inteleon as well, we can actually play our Frost Wall in the active, we can use Frost Wall over and over, turn after turn, to deny our opponent from drawing extra prizes, or any prize for that matter, until the very end. And then play Gorebyss on the bench, transform with our bench Zoroark into a Fusion Strike Gorebyss to lock them from using those damage counter placement, because we actually cannot be dealing with that Inteleon. We need to shut down that ability badly. Okay, here comes a single strike deck. We are facing off against a single strike box actually. They got a Darkness single strike box with Tyranitar, Slowking, and Gengar VMAX, which is pretty cool because single strike is featuring Darkness and Fighting, right? The main type is Darkness and Fighting, but they do have a lot of other types like Electrode, Lightning, Abomasnow Grass, Pinsir Grass, a lot of Bayonet, Psychic Ghost. So there are a lot of Galurk as well. There are a lot of types for single strike and rapid strike, but the main type for those strikes is Water Fighting for rapid and Darkness Fighting for single. I don't know what's the main type for Fusion Strike, but yeah, that's it. Pretty cool, isn't it? Kung Fu. Okay, they're gonna discard our deck. We have to watch out because if they discard the Cyllene, we're done for. We have to make sure we deal with the Tyranitar. They can actually discard our Pulpad, Yellowstone, and if they do enough discards, enough of the right discards, then we can actually survive the game. We should be playing the other Bibarel though, right? If we play just one copy, if we just play that one copy of Bibarel from Pokemon Go, we can actually use that ability to deny our opponent from discarding any cards from our deck. So they cannot actually use effects of attacks, abilities, or trainer cards. Anything cannot discard, cannot, you know, dismantle our deck. They have no way of discarding cards from our deck if we have that Bibarel on our bench. It needs to be on the bench though, so it's not perfect obviously. Because we have a Bibarel draw support, we should be adding an extra copy of the other Bibarel. But thing about that is not many people play, you know, if you are targeting a V-Star deck, they most likely won't be playing a mill strategy unless if they have Crabominable. Crabominable Tyranitar is the only other cards that play a mill strategy. Kind of tiny mills. And if they play against one prize, they can actually have that extra option of this, you know, basically disrupting your opponent's deck flow or discarding their resources by doing that few lucky discards. But very few decks in the meta actually focuses on mill now. So that's why we don't have the other Bibarel. You can actually transform into the Pokemon Go Bibarel just for that ability with your Zoroark. So it's quite cool to have that one extra stage 1 in the deck. I would recommend playing that extra copy, but I wouldn't be swapping my Bibarel for it. We need a solid 2 copies of the Brilliant Stars Bibarel just to help us draw cards into our hand. If we have the other one prize, we're still good because all we need is 1 copy, really. We just need 1 copy, and then Greninja is gonna help us later on in the game. If we get it with our Heavy Ball or even capture early on in the game, if we're lucky, if it's inside the deck, we can actually VIP pass for a Bidoof and a Greninja, and that actually helps us in the long run. Basically, we don't need a second Bibarel really. The reason we are playing 2 is because the other one could be prize. Okay, we are choosing to play Weezing to lock them from doing single strike roar, but I don't think that's too smart because it is doing something though, because now they actually cannot kill the Weezing. So we are buying ourselves that 1 turn, they are not able to knock out our active this turn unless if they do a Dark Patch. I forgot about Dark Patch apparently. If they play Dark Patch on the Tyranitar or even the Gengar, they can do either Pain Explosion or Single Strike Crush to kill. It would be a bit drastic though, because they have to place 3 damage counter on the Gengar just to kill the Weezing, or they have to discard the top 4 cards of their deck with Single Strike Crush just to kill the Weezing. But I think if they play a Single Strike Energy from their hand, they may be able to kill Weezing with the first attack, Cragalanche. I don't think it's enough though, because Cragalanche is doing 60 base, and 3 Single Strike Energy equals 60 more. So Weezing has 130 HP and 120 damage is just not enough. They cannot do Cragalanche for the knockout. So Tyranitar needs to discard, needs to play Single Strike Crush just to kill off 240 damage, just to kill off a 1-price Weezing. That's a bit ridiculous. There we go, here comes the Slowking. Full on Single Strike combo. Darkness, nothing but Darkness Pokemon. Poison and Dark. Slowking is poison. Gengar is poison as well. It's pretty interesting that Gengar is a poison type though. I used to think that is nothing but a ghost type, right? It should be a pure ghost type. Why is it a poison type? Makes no sense. Can someone tell me in the comment section below? Just educate me if you don't mind, because my Pokemon knowledge is not that wide. Why is Gengar a poison type? I have no idea. Is it because it has spikes on the back? It has like poison barbs on the back? Or is it related to some kind of ghost? A poison ghost? I have no idea. Here comes Cragalanche. So we did a switch because we know they're gonna get poisoned to death. We're not gonna give them an easy kill because Weezing can do a lot later on as well. We just need to put it to the bench right now just to help us save it for that one turn, or at least force them to play to waste their boss's order for that one extra knockout. So if they waste the boss order, they're gonna collect 1 prize. If they don't, they're gonna do it anyways. And if they collect 1 prize with the boss right now, we can actually do the Miltank Frostball later on, after killing the Tyranitar obviously, because Tyranitar is a basic, it can still kill your Glaceon. If you play Miltank though at just the right time, if they run out of their Houndooms or if they evolve all their Pokemon, you just need to do Frostball for the win. So all we need to do is exhaust their resources with either Weezing or Miltank to start the game with those 2 cards, and then bring out Glaceon at the last second, or even Screen Cleaner to help us defend our Miltank from effects of attacks, and Gorebyss to deny them from using Quick Shoot, or even Rapid Strike Octillery. So Octillery cannot search for any Rapid Strike cards from the deck. If we have a Fusion Strike Gorebyss in play, and I don't see any other Rapid Strike abilities. None that I can think of right now at the moment. Wishy-Washy, I just realized that. Wishy-Washy has no ability, and we just need 30 damage to kill that 1 prize Pokemon for, you know, if we hit the bench as well with Moonlight Shuriken against Wishy-Washy. If we have, you know, a Gorebyss in play, Zoroark transformation, we can actually kill 2 Wishy-Washis with Moonlight Shuriken. That would be pretty cool. With like a billion energies attached, because they would, you know, they should be having 180 HP, but thanks to Gorebyss, now they are down to 30. Okay, here comes a Single Strike Roar. We got our Miltank in the active, so they have to deal with it with their Houndoom. And they already invested all of their Single Strike energy onto the Tyranitar. That means they either need to do a retreat Urn of Vitality to reattach those Single Strike onto the Houndoom, but they actually don't have a second copy though. They have only one single copy of Houndoom in play, and it's not going to do enough damage. So Urn of Vitality, they may actually play, I think they already played the single strike Roar. So if they roared already, they cannot actually do Word of Ruin for this turn. So we're just going to play Cyllene. I think we got a Cyllene from the top deck. There we go. We actually played the Cyllene for a switch card because we are preparing for a Word of Ruin. And we don't have that many switch cards in this deck, so we have to use them wisely. We have to shuffle them back when we can. Obviously, don't, you know, it's not a golden rule to, it's not always the same thing. You don't have to keep on, it's not for every game that you have to shuffle back your, or put at the top deck, revive your switch cards. You may need to revive your level ball, quick ball instead, just for that extra discard or summon, or extra bench, extra Pokemons on the bench. You never know. So Cyllene gets you anything, any one card from the discard pile, as opposed to your, you know, Sword and Shield, Swordward and Shieldbird. Swordward and Shieldbird is quite terrible because it only allows you to search for any trainer cards from your deck and give your opponent the decision. If they choose yes, then you get to keep those cards into your hand, but you don't get to draw any cards. If they choose no, then you get to draw 3 cards, and then you actually have to put those cards back into the discard pile. So you can't put them back into your hand. You have to deal with your loss, basically. You cannot recover those discarded Pokemons or discarded trainer cards, my bad. Discarded trainers remain discarded, but you get to draw 3 cards. There's only 3 cards though, so Swordward and Shieldbird is not really that good. But you never know. There's always a way to make any cards shine, in my opinion. There's always a way. So we may be posting a Swordward and Shieldbird video at sometime soon, but we would need a lot of times to make it work though. A lot of time and effort just to build a proper consistent deck from that trash card, because it's not really that powerful. I don't think we're gonna do it though anytime soon, but because we have quite a lot of other decks we need to churn out, quite a lot of ideas already ongoing, and we can't actually afford to waste more time building a deck from terrible cards like Swordward and Shieldbird. Nothing is terrible really, it's just a different way of playing the game. But there are always such a thing as supports. If you have enough supports in standard, inside the format, within the confines of this format, if you have enough trainer cards, tool cards, supporter, special energy, abilities to support that one Pokemon, to support that one attack, then it becomes very consistent. If you don't have a lot of ways to support that attack or that effect of attack or that card's ability, then it's not wise to be playing that card. It's not consistent. It's not gonna work. It's just not gonna cut it. Okay, we got a full V in our opponent's field, except for that one Houndoom. They can bench a Houndour at any point. Never know. I'm still biding my time with the Pulpad. I'm not sure what we should be doing. Are we going to play the Pulpad right now? We should be using it later, but we actually have a Team Yell's Cheer already in the discard pile though. So we should be playing it just to put that Yell's Cheer back. But I think we should be waiting for Cyllene first. Play the Cyllene and then play the Pulpad on the same turn. So all we need to do is wait for that one supporter card. We cannot be playing Marnie. We should be playing Bruno, because we want to be getting back our Pulpad. We're not done deciding yet. Are we going to Pulpad right now? I don't think so. If we don't do it now, we have to do it on the next turn though, because both players have 12 cards left. We can play Bruno to basically put cards back into the deck later on, but if they do the same strategy, if they play Bruno, Marnie at the last second, they can actually buy themselves a lot more turns than we expect. So if your opponent doesn't do a knockout, Bruno forces you to shuffle the entirety of your hand back into the deck and then draw only 4 cards. That could be actually really good. It's actually an advantage, you know, at the end of the game when you have very few cards left in the deck, when both players are about to deck out. And if that is the determining factor, if that actually determines the win, who decks out first, if that is the case, then those cards are really important. So we played a Raihan for a Bronzong. Bronzong is pretty cool though for a Zoroark combo because you actually get to play it against fire decks. But unfortunately, throughout the entirety of you know, this inspired video, so when I first got inspired by the idea, I built the very first version with Bronzong. And then after that, we swapped it for something else. I think we swapped it for another water attacker. And eventually we swapped it for a Mr. Rime and a Gorebyss. But throughout the entirety of the video, we didn't get to showcase, you know, Bronzong at all against a fire deck, which is pretty upsetting. That's why I eventually decided to just scrap that stage 1 for something else. They didn't give us a single matchup though, which is just bizarre. Where is Charizard when you need it, right? Where is those, where are those, like, fire decks? Entei, Charizard, I don't think there is a lot though. Cinderace. So fire is not really that popular now. Not as popular as when Welder was out. We have Magma Basin, we have Charizard, Radiant, we have so many Charizards now. We have V-Star Charizard, Radiant Charizard, we even got the Pokemon Go Charizard to double up your firepower, which is crazy. We got so many Charizard in the deck now. We even got the VMAX still in the format because it's not rotated yet. Rotation only starts next year, which is kind of a good news because we get to play so many cards still. Can you imagine without Quick Ball? I cannot imagine a world without Quick Ball. It's just impossible. If you have to play Pokeball, Great Ball just to set up your bench, that would be pretty terrible. There is a new card though. There's a new Evolution Incense, which actually forces you to flip a coin. So there's a new item called Aroma, something Aroma. Lingering Aroma or something. I don't know what it's called. But it's kind of like a scented candle. The art of the card, the artwork of the card is kind of representing a candle, a scented candle, kind of the same thing as Evolution Incense. Instead of an incense, we have a candle, a scented candle now, and it actually helps you search for either a basic or an evolution and put it into your hand. So flip a coin. If you get a head, search for an evolution. If you get a tails, search for a basic Pokemon from the deck, any one basic, and then put it into your hand. So I think I'm just gonna end the voiceover right here and leave you guys to focus on the game. Hope you guys enjoyed this new combo. Today we're featuring the new Glaceon from Astral Radiance and our Zoroark box, doing a control strategy with Gorebyss, Weezing, and also our Galarian Mr. Rime with our Miltank. So Screen Cleaner protects you from effects of attacks. Miltank actually doesn't guard from effects. It only prevents damage done to that Pokemon by Pokemon Vs. So if your opponent play Galarian Slowking VMAX or any effects of attacks to kill your Miltank with their V Pokemons, they can still get through your Miracle Body ability. So that's all for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you next time. Have a great day and bye for now, lovely people. Enjoy your life.
Top.